All right, man, peace. So I caught this very interesting segment on this television show, The Jump, and Rudy Gay happened to make what I believe to be a very company man-ish, a very Spurs-ish statement pertaining to Mr. Kawhi Leonard, which to me only substantiated why Kawhi Leonard grew to not trust any member of his team or anyone associated with the team because he knows what it takes to stay on the Spurs. You have to be a cult member. Rudy Gay once again reinforces a sentiment that I touched on in the video that I did on David Robinson, that being the company man. And the company man is not always a bad guy. He's just someone who normally lives in fear. He believes that the place that he's at, he can't find anywhere better. He knows that he's expendable. So he's going to say what he needs to say to maintain his position and possibly advance up in the corporation. For those of you brothers who remember, if you've seen the video that I did on Greg Popovich and his statements directly after the Kawhi Leonard trade for DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl, Greg Popovich went out of his way to shout out Rudy Gay, and I believe that he did so for a reason. Not only so that viewers could gauge what Rudy Gay was able to do with the Spurs in juxtaposition to what Kawhi Leonard refused to do, that being come back from serious injury to assist the team, but that also was a subliminal message to Rudy Gay that we're going to put you in a much more prominent position next season now that we know that Kawhi Leonard is gone, and we're going to reward you for your loyalty. And it's very clear to me that Rudy Gay picked up on that subliminal message, and who knows, maybe Pop has been much more forthright and overt in that sentiment that he's going to advance Rudy Gay in the offense. And that is why Rudy Gay is making this statement about Kawhi Leonard, in which he has stated that the reason why Kawhi Leonard left the Spurs or demanded a trade from the Spurs is because he just wanted to go to a bigger market. So anyway, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
The Hartford Courant published a great article on former UConn star and current Spur, Rudy Gay. During their conversation, Gay gave his take on the Kawhi DeRozan trade, saying, the best part about San Antonio, they do right by you. They do right by their players, do right by their staff. That doesn't happen much in the NBA, to be honest with you.
Now, why is Rudy Gay making that statement? The reason why he's saying that is because he knows that as a player who's approaching 30 or probably right around 30, I'm not quite sure how old he is, and also coming off of an Achilles tear, there are not too many other NBA franchises that would be willing to put him in an advantageous position like the Spurs most likely will next season. He knows that he's been heavily compromised by the injury that he's coming back from, and he's grateful. That therefore makes him a company man. So you always know what a person like Rudy Gay is going to say. The Spurs have a history of turning one team's trash into their treasure.
On one side, there was Leonard that was trying to get out, get to a bigger market.
Now that's extremely presumptuous for him to say. Extremely presumptuous. Because I'm sure that he did not hear that from Kawhi. So he's saying that so that he makes sure that he secures his own role on that team. He knows that that's what's going to make Greg Popovich very happy. And most likely, that was the sentiment within the locker room, and that was the energy that was put on the team from Popovich and R.C. Buford. That the only reason why Kawhi was making the hullabaloo that he was making is because he wanted out of San Antonio to become a big star.
They were totally being upfront with him. And then they trade him for a guy, DeRozan, where that organization wasn't being upfront with him at all. So, I mean,
all that translates to is, San Antonio, thank you so much. Thank you so much for looking at me as a viable NBA player and understanding that I'm still talented and still wanting to sign me and use me. Thank you so much. I can still afford to go out to the club and bang out thotties.
It's just night and day. That trade right there shows you the difference between the San Antonio Spurs and other organizations.
Well, that shows you the difference between the San Antonio Spurs and the other organizations that you played for. Allegedly. There might not even be a difference. Once again, you might just be desperately happy.
A lot to digest there, Ramona, but let's just cut to the chase. Was this a shot at Kawhi?
Absolutely, it was a shot at Kawhi, but I don't believe that Kawhi Leonard was meant to be the direct target. I think that he was more just collateral damage. This was a way for Rudy Gay to make sure that he secured his spot on the franchise, to let them know that I'm 100% invested, I'm all on board. I'm not going to pull a Kawhi. I'm not going to try to run away from the team. Why is that? Because I know I don't have the equity across the NBA that a Kawhi Leonard has. I've never been considered as good as Kawhi has been considered. So I should just be happy to be in the league. I am just happy to be here, and I don't want to go. So I'm going to make sure that I propagate the sentiment about Kawhi that was told to me in the locker room so that once again, Daddy Popovich understands how grateful I am. I don't think that it was anything personal between Rudy Gay and Kawhi. It was just his way of telling Kawhi, look, dude, you're already gone. I'm going to say what I have to say.
I don't really know what that is, that whole thing. Like, they were...
So then why the hell you on a panel? Any idiot could say, I don't really know what that is.
They were being upfront with him. The Spurs were. I mean, Kawhi left because he was upset with the Spurs, and he felt like they were undercutting him all season long.
That's exactly what they were doing.
I mean, Greg Popovich was out there saying our doctors have cleared him and he's not playing. You'll have to ask his camp. So
the reason why Popovich was doing that was because he was accustomed to every player that came through that franchise being thoroughly intimidated of him and the quote-unquote Spurs way.
So I think that's part of the reason why their relationship fell apart. And I think it's kind of a strange thing for Rudy to have to answer because Rudy got traded from Toronto, right? Like, so one place showed you the door and another place showed you the love. They've given him now 2 contracts as he continues to recover from an Achilles tendon injury.
That's the point. Once again, the Spurs have given him 2 contracts as he's come back from an Achilles tendon injury. There's most likely no other team that would have been willing to do that for Rudy Gay, so he's grateful.
Injury. I mean, it's part of it. You know where the bread is buttered, right?
Thank you. Ding.
Somebody keeps giving you contracts, you're going to be nice to them and say nice things.
Let's keep in mind that Rudy and Paul Gasol had similar situations where they opted out of a deal. Yep. And everybody was like, what are you doing? Yep. What are you doing opting out of that? That's a nice salary you're going to get next year. And San Antonio came back and gave them multi-year deals.
Right.
And so, yeah, he feels good about the organization right now. But I didn't take those quotes to say that he was taking a shot necessarily at Kawhi. I think it was basically a shot at everybody else. Because San Antonio...
No, it was a shot at Kawhi too, but it was not a direct shot. It basically was, I'm trying to make sure that San Antonio understands that I'm not going to try to buck the system in any way. And if I have to throw a little dirt on Kawhi's name to do so, that's what I'm going to do.
San Antonio does run things a little bit differently from everybody else, but I do think...
And we've all known cats like that in the corporate workspace. They're cool dudes. Every time you see them, they say, what's up? You guys talk about little things, so on and so forth. But you know for a fact that if it comes down to a situation where they feel uneasy about possibly losing their job or their job security, because you know how certain people, they live and they work scared, they're going to throw whoever they have to throw under the bus, even when it's unnecessary. And managers and directors, they always like to have those type of guys around in their corporate environment because they know that they can get information from those type of people.
I think it's a matter of time before San Antonio has to get in line with some of the ways of which other teams operate.
But they were...
I think they understand that. I think Popovich understands that as well. That's why he's stating that he's going to leave coaching in about 2 years.
We're totally being upfront with him, I think, is the line that I think is standing out.
Yeah, it's a strange quote because how would they...
Nothing strange about it. Rudy Gay is just saying, look, I love playing in San Antonio. That's all that translates to.
How were they being upfront with him? He's the one who told him he wanted to be traded.
So, and then I guess that speaks also to what were the conversations like in the locker room.
That's true, but I think
teammates.
Just to add this, look, when they had that, when the players had the meeting, when they confronted Kawhi was caught off guard. Yeah. He felt like, why are you guys coming at me like this? So,
I think that was the best thing to ever happen to Kawhi. That was the best thing to ever happen to Kawhi. One of the main lessons that brothers oftentimes have to learn whenever they're in a corporate environment and playing for an NBA team, you are in a corporate environment, is that there are no friends in that locker room. There are no friends in that workspace. People come to work so that they can make their one true friend, that being their money. And that's all it's about. Every once in a while, the Lord might bless you to meet 1 or 2 good people at a workplace stop across the course of your life. But there's no friends in that environment. People are always going to choose their check over their relationship, their quote-unquote relationship, for the most part. Now, you might meet certain people who have credibility as human beings, Lord willing. You might even meet a friend or 2 if the Most High truly blesses you. But you always have to remember, these different corporate workspaces, And the sports world is just a corporate workspace. There's no friends in there. And Kawhi Leonard had to learn that. And I think that once he learned that, that's what liberated him. That's what freed him to understand that he had to demand a trade. There was not going to be any coming back into that environment.
I think they felt like the team was feeding some of the players some of the narrative and getting them to believe, this is what's happening. Because we all know Kawhi doesn't talk to many people, let alone his teammates. So I think for the most part, what the Spurs players feel is what they've been told, and they haven't been told how Kawhi feels about the situation.
Yeah, and I remember talking to Rudy Gay when I was down in San Antonio reporting that story, and
I think that Kawhi Leonard, unfortunately for Kawhi, I think that Kawhi Leonard expected them to understand, and I think that that is what surprised him the most, is that he expected them to understand his plight. And when he realized they did not understand his plight, that's when he was able to rise up to another level of comprehension, another level of professional comprehension. That professional basketball is a business. It's a business. People talk all that. I love my teammates. I love my team. We're a family. You're a workplace family. You have to understand what the lines of demarcation are. There's a difference between your real family and your quote-unquote workplace family. If you're even fortunate enough to work in a workplace, in a workspace, where you can become even moderately close to the people around you, they will never be your family. Ever. Because once again, their one family member is that check.
And he was very complimentary of Kawhi. Like, he really seemed to have his back. So I don't think it was a shot at him. I think when you look at the infamous Tony Parker quote, I had the same injury but 100 times worse, that's what Chris is talking about, which is the idea that the players were being told that Kawhi's injury was one thing, where Kawhi believed it was something else. And
yes, because Kawhi Leonard, once again, he had to grasp what the conditions of the battle were in that locker room and being associated with that organization. Kawhi was almost like the member of an army battalion who thought that, because he went through basic training with his fellow army battalion members, that they were always going to be there for him and be his brothers and so on and so forth. Not understanding that they take their marching orders from the general, and they're going to choose whatever the general says over what Kawhi Leonard wants them to feel or wants them to think.
And he was being made to look bad.
I think also that's one of the biggest question marks of this season is how healthy is Kawhi, and I know I'll be paying attention to that.
I'm sure that he's going to come out this season with the Toronto Raptors playing like his life is on the line. As long as he stays healthy, I expect him to finish somewhere in the top 5 or maybe even top 3 in MVP voting consideration. And hell, if he's truly exemplary, maybe even win the award. Who the hell knows?
As soon as the season starts. Coming up.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. So peace.